Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. I just wonder if this was the scriptural basis for the Beatles song, all you need is love, love. Love is all you really need. What do you think? It could be, couldn't it? Owe nothing to anyone but to love one another. All you need is love. And in hearing that song and thinking about love, love, you'd say, well, it's just kind of a feel-good thing. Except if anybody who has loved someone else and been loved by someone else, you know that as good as love can feel, it also can make us hurt badly, and it's also very difficult to live out, especially over a long period of time. Would you say that's true? Yeah, it is true. And if we're talking about love and some of the qualities of love, we could listen to 1 Corinthians 13 about love is patient, love is kind, and all that. And we could also listen to what the first reading and gospel say today. And it's not easy stuff. The first gospel says, if you see someone doing something wicked, it's our responsibility to that person to say something. And if we do, we're off the hook. And if we don't, we take part of the responsibility ourselves. And in the gospel, Jesus says, if your brother or your sister sins against you, go tell them about it. And you might win them back. So, that's the directive that we have, is that we have a responsibility to somebody else. Not for their life, but our part in telling them, you've gone astray, at least as far as we know. We might not have the whole truth, but at least as far as we know, they're not doing the good things. They're doing bad things. And in that regard, there are some things that it would be best if we did not do. If we see someone who's acting in a wicked way or hurting us or others, it would be best if we did not ignore it. Because if we ignore it, it'll go away, right? I don't think so. And recently, well, forget recently alone, over the years, we see people who tried to ignore things. And that's why we have these mandatory reporting laws now. For those, especially like for kids who are being abused or elders who are being abused. Mandatory reporting laws. Because people used to ignore all that. And people ignored stuff in the business world when we were doing some illegal and business transactions with money and playing with it, and we saw the crash in 2008. We've seen the VA recently saying, well, we're going to kind of fake all of our records here so make it looks like everybody's being served within 15 days or whatever it was, and find out it's been months. But you know what? There were a whole lot of people there who knew about that, and we only had a couple whistleblowers. It's our responsibility. Ignoring things doesn't work. Doesn't work. Or the second thing that it would be best if we did not do is exclude somebody without telling them what's wrong. Hurt me, so they don't talk to us. I would imagine everybody's been on that end of it. I have. I'm thinking everything's just fine, but all of a sudden I get the cold shoulder or the attitude, and it's like, I'm kind of confused. What's going on? I don't know that I did anything wrong, although I may have. But I don't get it. How can I do anything about it if I don't get it? And if I say something, or maybe you've had this, it's like, well, if you really cared about me, you'd know. So I'm not going to tell you. Well, I do care about you, and I don't know what I did. So why don't you share? Okay. Excluding people without telling them doesn't do any good. Okay? Or the other thing that is really bad to do is go tell everybody else without telling the person. And so you're getting a cold shoulder from all of them too. Great. And you still don't know why. Even though I might have done something wrong, I don't know why. Maybe I'm ignorant. Okay, that still doesn't help. Those are the things, and there might be others, but those are at least 3 things that it's good not to do. But what we are charged to do by Jesus Christ as well as by God in the first reading is to speak the truth with love and care for the person that we see has gone astray or that we see has hurt us, and we need to speak the truth in love. And Jesus shows us a way to do that. The first thing he says is go to the person and talk to them. Well, that's a good idea. One-on-one. Go and say something to them. And someone said something to me a couple weeks ago where it was something to help me along that line. Where she said to me, she says, I got another way of doing that. That way is to walk up to the person and say, have I done anything to hurt you? What a good idea. You don't put them on the defensive right away, but it's like, have I done anything to hurt you? And if they say yes, well, then you have an opening to talk about it. But if they say no, then you say, well, then why is this going on? And what made you do this to me? But still, opening a conversation. Second thing Jesus says, if that doesn't work, well, then go and get a couple other people who know what's going on, not by hearsay, but who see it, and who can go with you and talk to the person. Out of love, get people who care for that person as well as people who know, and go and talk to them. And then maybe that'll help. An example of that would be, let's just say you were sitting out in the beer tent yesterday. And there is a guy named Sven, okay, our buddy Sven. And you've seen Sven down a whole lot of beers. I mean, a whole lot of beers. And then your buddy Sven gets up and says, well, I think I'll go home now. And he pulls out the keys to his car. What are you going to do? Would you say, Sven, let me see those keys? And take them away? And say, we're going to drive you home, and I'll drive you in my car, and George here will drive your car, and everything will be fine. Oh, I'm just fine. Yeah, well, yeah, I know you think you are, but we don't think you are, and you got to have people backing you up here. It's like, okay, we got some people, so okay. And Sven grabs his keys back and says, the heck with you guys, or whatever. And he said, well, I'm going anyway. Would you call the police on them? Would you? Well, go to get several people involved in this for the sake of the person. And the third thing is to bring it before a broader group of people. Bring it before the church. Bring it before the whole family. And that's what you do, like with an intervention for somebody who's addicted to alcohol or drugs or food or something else. You bring it before the person. And this intervention isn't so much a confrontation, but saying, these are the facts, we love you, and you need to stop doing these things. And it might work. And if it doesn't, then what you do is that you go and you treat them like you would a tax collector or a sinner. In other words, they're not in on the group, they're on the out of the group. But how did Jesus teach tax collectors and sinners? How did he? He reached out to them to try to bring them in, to try to help them to see. So you can still do that, but maybe more from a distance, and we still reach out to them. That's Jesus' solution. I don't have a better one. But all of this is to be done speaking the truth as we know it and out of love, out of the care for the person, because, as he says, then you might win them back. And it's very important to know what our mindset is going into this. It's not to be a mindset of condemnation, but rather a mindset of care, respect, and love, but also a care of helping the person to face what's going on. We need to know who we are in the midst of this. And to that end, I found a story about Gandhi. Remember Gandhi? You decide. So, a mother whose son had an insatiable desire for sweets. I don't know what that is, but anyway. Her son had an insatiable desire for sweets. She brought him along a long distance to talk to Gandhi, who looked at them and said, come back to me in 2 weeks. So she takes this long walking journey home, difficult journey. When they came back, Gandhi looked at the boy and said, stop eating so much sugar. And the boy agreed. So the mother asked Gandhi, says, Bapu, why did you just not say this to me, the boy, 2 weeks ago and save me the hardship of going over this long journey back here? And Gandhi replied, well, 2 weeks ago, I ate too many sweets. I needed to see if I could stop before I counseled the boy. Different mindset, isn't it? We need to be aware of our own weaknesses, our own sinfulness, our own wickedness, and our attempts to overcome them. And then when we are aware of that, we go to somebody else. It's not out of self-righteousness. It's not out of condemnation. It's out of care. And we can speak better that way. They can hear better that way of what we're trying to say. And one more thing. Jesus says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in their midst. It would be best, would it not, if we did this in prayer? Maybe prayer with someone else, praying for the person and praying for the guidance of the Spirit in the midst of it. For when we act in faith, and we are to act in love.